Good afternoon, everyone. We continue our study in the book of Exodus. We're now in Exodus chapter 28. In the last few chapters, we were told how God had revealed to Moses the architecture, the model, what God wants to see, how he wants to see it. And this has all got to do with the tabernacle. God's house, God's rules, God's design. Now, this is something which we need to appreciate, that the temple is not a whim and fancy design of any artist. God has a very, very big hand in this. And he describes to Moses exactly how he wants done, which tells us that God is a very creative God. God is a very meticulous God. God knows what he wants, tells Moses how to do it. Now, I've often repeated that whatever is recorded in the pages that we have read is what we would call the written Torah. There is much details that is left out of the written Torah, which we call the oral Torah. We get the idea, the gist of what is being done. But the details of exactly how to do it is really not mentioned at all. So we would get the general idea, a fair bit of information. We can imagine it, but we certainly will find it very difficult to just follow the text to rebuild it. We have to use a lot of tradition to be able to furnish the details of the text. We have covered the tabernacle, the tent, and last week, the surrounding of the Mishkan. And now we come to chapter 28. Chapter 28 begins, you take your brother Aaron and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as a Kohen. This is a Kohen. Kohen is the Hebrew word for priest. Please be clear that uh, priest in the Hebrew terms is not just a religious leader, but somebody who is a prince, a leader, somebody who knows exactly what needs to be done, some who has religious authority, some who will teach about God's things. And so that's the whole idea of a Kohen. It is a very special group of people that by this time, God had decided that the Levites will be the ones to serve God, and the family or the descendants of Aaron would be the ones that will act as the priest, the Kohen. This is also a time that God has allowed the firstborn to be redeemed. Now, all of this took place when God changed the order of things at Mount Sinai and when they had the episode of the golden calf. And which means that this period of time overlaps into the appointment of Aaron and his sons. And so all those things that we read in the book of Numbers intersperse with these events. We are told that God is now having spoken to Moses. He came down and a lot of time has gone past. And so how to make the Mishkan, the tabernacle of meeting, how to make the courtyard, the surrounding, the fabrication, and the utensils that's inside, the altar, the wash basin, and the whole works of the construction was all discussed up to chapter 27. Now, in chapter 28, we talk about the people working in the tabernacle. Now, understand this: God's house, God's rules means God decides who gets to do the work, how they get to do the work, and more importantly, in chapter 28, what they wear. Now, why is what they wear important? Why can't they just wear anything? Understand the word holy. Holy really means special, different, which means that when they go in to serve God in the tabernacle, they have to be holy, which means that they will have to look different by dressing up differently. God's house, God's rules, God's way of doing things. And so in God's house, the decor, the decorum, the attire, everything is decided by God. So it says Aaron and Aaron's sons. And then we have Nadav, Abihu, Eleazar, Itmar. Now, in the later sequence of events in the book of Leviticus, we have Nadav and Abihu having died because they disobeyed God. This role as a priest, and in this priesthood to act as a leader with regard to religious activities, to teach the people how to come near to God, to follow the rules of God, is all about the Kohen. And when the Kohen disobeys those rules, God destroyed Nadav and Abihu. And so eventually Eleazar and Itmar became the descendants of Aaron. Verse 2 tells us, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. Now, verse 2 is very interesting: for honor and for glory. Honor is to show importance. Honor, glory, importance. The other word here is splendor, beauty. And the intent here is to show majesty. Now, in both of these cases, it has to be seen because we're talking about garments, what they wear. Now, what they wear becomes important to demonstrate glory, that's importance, and to demonstrate beauty or majesty. Garments, how they wear things, what they wear on them, will depict what God defines as important. This word glory is kavod, which is heavy. Honor your father and mother, same word. And it is to show that the dressing for the Kohen will be not only different or special, they have to have these effects to show that they are important. They have to show that there is splendor and majesty. And when people see the garments, they will be at awe. They will be shocked. Wow, this is incredible. That kind of a wow effect on the garments for Aaron, your brother. And so you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans. Now, this word, gifted artisans, literally means wise hearted, whose hearts are wise. Now, what does that mean? Heart means the mind. They are very sharp. They know exactly what needs to be done, what can be done, and why are they wise? Well, it tells us here because God Himself have filled them with the wind of wisdom. That is what this text is saying. God has filled them with the wind of wisdom. What does that mean? As you can see, the text is describing something abstract, that you can't see the physicalness of wisdom, but you can see that the choices, the decision that these people make is very wise. It is not over the top. It is not common. It is something very unusual and unique that defines and describes who God is. That is the idea of God giving or filling a person with the wind of wisdom so that wisdom can be seen. This is the idea in one of the rare occasions that God puts something into man. All these things is to tell us that this is unique. Why is this unique? Because God wants some of these people who are talented to have wisdom in their talent, to know certain things, to have insight on things which is beyond themselves, beyond what a normal person can see. And these are the gifted artisans, the wise hearted, the ones who have been filled with the wind of wisdom. And wisdom is what they demonstrate about how to do things that belongs to God. So he goes on to say that they may make Aaron's garments and then to consecrate it, make him holy, that he may minister to me as a priest, act as a priest. So act as priest is important. It is not just standing around, not carrying a title, but actually doing the work. And so it is Aaron's garments that is going to make a difference. And these people with wisdom is to do these things, to make it different, unique, to make it for glory, importance, and majesty and beauty. And so very quickly, we'll go through the chapter so that we'll see a little bit more of the pictures. The garments that they make, there will be a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a tunic, a turban, and a sash. 6 things here. And so let's discuss this a little bit. First of all, the breastplate is choshen. I'm just giving you the Hebrew, choshen, and this would be ephod, right? That is the, how should we say, the ephod would be the apron. And then we have a coat, ma'il. This would be a robe, a coat. And then a tunic. Now understand what is a tunic. A tunic is, well, you can call it the undergarment. There's a number of layers that he has to wear. Then a turban. Now, turban is important for us to remember. We call it a turban because it is something that's worn on the head. And then a sash. Now, a sash here should mean the, how would you say, the belt, right? I think the sash as a belt would be fine, right? And these are the garments for Aaron and sons. So Aaron and sons. Well, we need to understand that Aaron is one type The sons is another type. I would say a subset. There are six things here: a choshen, ephod, and a robe, a tunic, a turban, and a sash. And then you find that their sons who are just Kohen will wear something uh, lesser, right? Lesser. So let's look at the ephod. The ephod works this way. You need gold, blue, purple, scarlet, thread, and fine linen. Five types of threads. And woven together, they make the ephod. And we're talking about the ephod. And the ephod is made of these gold, blue, purple, scarlet, and woven linen. One, two, three, four, five. And then you find this word artistically worked. That's the English, right? That's the English. Artistically worked. The weaver will make patterns. And so the question would be, what patterns are there? So we're not told. But the weaver has the spirit or the wind of wisdom, and God allows him to understand what kind of patterns to make. So based on this, we can never make it. We can only know the concept, but not the details. Then it says that it comes with two shoulder straps joined at its two edges. And this word, so it shall be joined together, literally means it needs to be part of the ephod, not sewn onto it. That's what it tells us. Then the intricately woven band of the ephod which is on it shall be of the same workmanship, gold, blue, purple, scarlet, linen threads. Now, what can we see? I think we can briefly think of it this way. It is an apron. And so it will look probably something like this. I think we can just draw it this way. And then it's got a sash. And these sashes are going to go around the shoulder. And this would be the ephod. So think of it as like an apron, right? And it's unusual because as an apron where people used to cook, you would tie it at the back. But here we are seeing that the back part is complete, but the front part is exposed, and then we will have the sashes so that you can tie up in front. That's basically how that will work. Now, the second thing that we find here, then you shall take two onyx stones, or, well, I guess when you call onyx stone, they're not actually quite onyx. What should we shall call it? Uh, by a different name, maybe. And these names in verse 9, they are called uh, Shohan. We don't really know exactly what it is. So onyx is just a translation. The name here is Shohan, right? Shohan stones. And then we're told, engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 on one stone, 6 on the other stone in order of their birth. Now, in this case, then you can see this. Let's continue, then we can finish the understanding with the work of an engraver in stone. The gravings of a signet, you shall engrave the two stones with the names of the sons of Israel, and you shall put them in settings of gold. So think of it this way: we have the settings of gold. And in the settings of gold, then the onyx stone is mounted on top. The onyx stone will be mounted on top, basically to give us a picture this way. And then on the stone itself, you get the engraving of the names of the 12 tribes, 6 on each stone. Now, the interesting thing, I guess, if you read it in the Hebrew, each of these stones have 25 letters. 25 letters. Why? Because they are written in Hebrew. In the first stone, we have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Yehudah, Dan, and Naphtali. Then the other stone here would be Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Yosef, and Benjamin. So that's the intent. Make this. And so after they make this, then we continue reading. And you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear the names before Jehovah on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. Now, to talk about this, then you find that this would be up here, right? We have it here. It would be right on the shoulders, right on the shoulders. So that when God looks at Aaron from the top, he will be looking at all the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Next, you shall also make settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the settings. So now we find that we have to make another 2 settings, which is down here. And with this, we will have what we call the cords, braided cords. And with the braided cords, we'll leave it at that. These braided cords is to hold down the straps. You think of it this way. In the past, there are no buttons, and certainly there is no Velcro. And so what you do find would be how to hook them all together. Now, with this, you can tie them together. But how would it sit on the body of Aaron? Well, it's going to be described in detail as the text goes down. Verse 15. Verse 15 now talks about a breastplate. Remember, the breastplate is called a choshen. The choshen is a breastplate, but it says it's a breastplate of judgment, which means that that breastplate has an ability to give decisions, to give judgments. So let's read this. You shall make the breastplate of judgment. And then it says, artistically woven, and this has to be the work of the master weaver who is filled with the wind of wisdom, according to the workmanship of the ephod you shall make it. Then of gold, blue, purple, scarlet, and linen, 5 types of thread you shall make it. And it shall be doubled into a square, a span its length, and a span its width. Now, the intent of a span really is about half a cubit. Let me just explain to you. It's about half a cubit. It's from the thumb to the little finger. So let me just show you here. If I have the thumb, and then I have the first, the second, the third, and the fourth pinky finger, then you would find that a span is from here to here. This is a span. This is approximately half an amma, half a cubit. A cubit, on the other hand, would be from the middle finger to the tip of the elbow. So you find that uh, if the cubit is 2 feet, 24 inches, then a span is 12. Now, if I have a short arm, then my span is smaller than others. So generally, they would use the average height of a person. The cubit would be the average of an Israelite. The span would be his span. So it says here, make a span. So it will be a span in length and a span in width. So basically, what we find would be something like this. It's like a square. And then the text tells us that you shall put settings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row in verse 17 would be the Orem. Then we have Pigdam. Now, all of these are what we call a Pigdar. These are all the Hebrew names: sardius, or ruby, topaz. But I'm just going to read you the Hebrew words. The next one is baredat, bareket, right? And that would be row number 1. And then row number 2 will be Nofek. And then we have Sapir, the sapphire. And the next one is Yahalom. Some people call this a diamond here. The third row would be Leshem. And then we have a Shavot. And the last one would be an Ach Lama, an amethyst. And the fourth row would be made up of, here it says is a beryl, but it's actually a Tarshish. The next one is a Shoham. Now notice the Shoham is now mentioned again. Shoham. Shoham is the onyx, and this is actually the stone that's on top here. Next, the last one here is a jasper, which would be Yeshfeh, a jasper. And they're all in gold settings. The stones shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to the names, the engravings of a signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes. So by way of a demonstration, think of it this way: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that would be the breastplate. Now you find in verse 22, it says, you shall make for the Choshen chains at the edges. The Choshen chains at the edges, like braided cords of pure gold. And you shall make 2 rings for the breastplate, and put 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. Then you shall put the braided chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. The other 2 ends of the braided chains you shall fasten to the two settings and put them on the shoulder straps in the ephod in front. Now, this is uh, quite an interesting description. First of all, you will find that these are all in gold rings. So we have one, two, and then at the bottom we have two more. So all in all, there are both at the two ends of the breastplate. Then we have this two braided chains. The braided chain seems to be very similar to these braided chains. And so we are only talking about two of these braided chains. The two braided chains are to be tied here. So you can now see it as the chain that is tied to the two ends. So what does that mean? You find that this is a way of tying these parts together. As you can tell, I'm just trying to give us a picture that the breastplate is tied to the front of the shoulder straps. And the breastplate being a bit heavier will hold down the shoulder straps. We continue to observe. You shall make two gold rings and put them on the two ends of the breastplate on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the ephod. And two rings of gold you shall make and put them on the two shoulder straps underneath the ephod toward its front, right at the seam above the intricately woven band of ephod, which we have described here. They shall bind the breastplate by the means of its rings to the rings of the ephod using a blue cord so that it is above the intricately woven band of the ephod, so that the breastplate does not come loose from the ephod. This is the attachment that is to be made between here and here. That's basically what we are seeing now. And so Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of judgment over his heart. And he goes into the holy place as a remembrance before the Jehovah all the time. And he shall put in the breastplate of judgment, the Urim and Thummim, and they shall be over Aaron's heart when he goes in before the Lord. So Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart continually. Now, this is a bit of a difficulty to express. First of all, you find that the 12 names are on that two shohan stones above the shoulders. 6 names on one side. Now you find all the 12 names on the 12 stones on the breastplate. You're literally seeing a sense of emphasis that God wants all Israel to know that as the high priest Aaron goes into the temple or the tabernacle, God is always reminded of these 12 tribes. And then behind it, we do find this strange thing called the Urim and Thummim. And it's placed a little to the left hand side, a little to the left. Why? Because it's over Aaron's heart. Now, Aaron's heart is not at the center, it's a little to the left. So this is symbolic. And Urim and Thummim are some very strange articles. So, first of all, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what they are, but I can tell you the definition. The Urim is a possible set of stones. Uh, it gives out brilliance. it gives out light. And the Tumim itself is, well, I guess right now it's basically some form of stones. I really have never seen this before, but it seems to have some supernatural properties that the Urim can glow and the Tumim can give judgments. And so together they are put in a little pocket behind the breastplate here. That's a breastplate. Inside a little towards the left over Aaron's heart. And so when the high priest goes into the tabernacle, there is a symbolic meaning that judgment over Israel is always by his heart. And remember, heart is not just the organ. Heart always reminds us of the mind, the will, that the choices that has to be made is to be made for the benefit of Israel. Verse 31. Now, in verse 31, it says here, you shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue, and there shall be an opening for his head in the middle of it. It have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening in a coat of mail, so that it does not tear. And upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, scarlet around its hem, and bells of gold in between them all around. A golden bell, a pomegranate, a golden bell, a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all around. Now I want to demonstrate and draw out how this may look. Remember, this is a robe of blue. And it probably looks something like that. There is an opening for the head, which is here. And this is generally how you would see the garment, I'll call it the robe of the high priest. That would be where you would place the ephod over it. Now, if we were to place the ephod over it, you will find that it will look something like this. You would have the sash, and the sash is in between, and then it doesn't seem to go all the way. And then you have the strap over the shoulder. And so just to be clear, this is what you find, strap over the shoulder. And you tie it here. Now, over the shoulder, you remember we have two stones, settings where the Shohan stones will be. Now, also at the end, you find that there is a breastplate, right? There is going to be a breastplate. And I'll just roughly draw the breastplate here. Right? We have the breastplate. As the breastplate, we also have the 12 stones. The 12 stones is marked all over it. And that's basically what you find we would have. Now, in verse 33 onwards, you find that this idea of a pomegranate. The pomegranate is, I guess, something more like a little nut looking thing. And then next to it would be a bell. And the bell would have a little, I don't know what you call it, the little thing that strikes the side so that you can actually have a sound. And this pomegranate, and in an alternate arrangement, is really to help, I guess, dampen the sound is probably what you find. So that the bells would ring by itself and it will be all around. So conceptually, you find it this way. And then the bells. And that would be the concept. And now we are told why. It shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, its sound will be heard. What sound? This sound, the bell. When he goes into the holy place before Jehovah, when he comes out, that he may not die. As long as there's sound, he's walking around, he's not dead. Then we shall see, you shall have also a plate of pure gold, and engrave on it like the engraving of a signet. Now, verse 36, this little plate is what we call a show plate of gold. The show plate of gold is better seen as, I guess you call it a head plate, uh, a head plate, a zit. Uh, I guess that's what you call it. A show plate of pure gold, which works this way. It is to be placed on the head, and on it are these words. And remember, these words is in Hebrew. These words is in Hebrew. And it says, Kodesh Lahovah, holiness to God. And this is to be worn around the forehead. And it's embossed with these words. And that would be a plate, and we would probably call it a head plate to be wrapped around the head. The next thing that you find here is that there is a blue cord, and it may be on the turban, and it shall be on the front of a turban. It shall be on Aaron's forehead, that he may bear the avon, the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall make holy in all their gifts. You know, when they come and make a korban, and it shall always be on his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. And so a turban is quite interesting. You find that a turban is something that you wrap, right? You wrap and it goes up. And so the turban it looks something like that, worn over the head of Aaron. And there is a blue strap. The blue strap is, let's say it's in front. And then along the blue strap, we have this headpiece. And so that's basically what we have here over the head of Aaron. And I hope that you get the picture. The turban itself is the headgear. And if you notice, this is a temple, this is a tabernacle, this is God's house, and this is what God wants. And when you look at Aaron, when he is fully dressed this way, uh, he will look outstanding. We come to the last segment. Verse 39 tells us this: You shall skillfully weave the tunic of fine linen, and you shall make the turban of fine linen, and you shall make the sash of woven work. Now, this seems to be just mentioned in passing without much description, and there is a reason. Think of it this way: these are not as important. So the tunic is like the one outside, but this is to be worn on the inside as a long garment for the inside. As a long garment. And so they have to wear the garment first, this tunic of fine linen first, and then the blue robe. Uh, and on his top would be the turban of fine linen. And then you make the sash of woven works. You need to make a sash. Now, the sash means that around the middle, you will have to tie them together. That would be the sash, the belt. And this is in the inside, right? It's on the inside. Now, when you come to Aaron's sons, remember, Aaron's sons is not Aaron. Aaron has all the exquisite dressing with a breastplate, with how the ephod is made. There's a blue robe, and then inside they have this tunic of fine linen. There's a turban. There's a gold plate. There is pomegranate and bells at the bottom of the blue robe. But for Aaron's sons, you shall make only tunics. This one here. And you shall make sashes for them. Only this. And you shall make hats for them for glory and beauty. They will also have to look different. Now, when we say hats, be aware that we're also talking about turbans, which is this, without all the uh, modifications. So you shall put them on Aaron your brother and on his sons. You shall anoint them, make them holy, sanctify them, that they may serve me as Kohen. Now, in verse 42, we have a last piece of garment. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness, and they shall reach from waist to the thighs. Now we call these breeches. Now they probably will look something like this. It's like trousers, or well, maybe not exactly of trousers, long shorts, right? Long shorts. And the long shorts are important, made of linen. And you can tell that in the old days, people do not wear modern day underwear. They wear ancient day garments. And this would be the trousers, or you call it breeches. They are to be worn first, because in the book of Leviticus, chapter 6, verse 3. Leviticus chapter 6, verse 3. They are to put on the breeches or these trousers, and it must be on his flesh. After you put this, then only you wear the fine linen tunic, wear the sash belt, and wear the turban. But for Aaron, he's got another layer of blue robe, and then the ephod, and then the breastplate, and then his turban with the gold plate. So all you can see is these are some very specifics that is given to Aaron and his sons. They shall be on Aaron and his sons when they come into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister in the holy place, that they do not incur iniquity and die. Because when you come in, you must follow God's rules. If you don't follow God's rules, you die. That applies to the priests as well, which means this: they can't wear common clothes into the tabernacle. And for these special clothes, they can't wear it home and wear it on their journey. They have to pack it up. And so, special clothes, holy garments, is a statute forever to him and his descendants after him. We have looked at a number of these holy garments. The holy garments are very special to Aaron and sons. And God wants that done. Why? Again, God's house, God's rules. God wants these garments to be so outstanding, shows the importance of the roles, and shows the beauty of the people doing the service. They are all going to look different. They have this attire like uniform, if you want to put it that way. And these garments are special garments that people are not supposed to make to be widely used. They are supposed to do this only for the Kohen, Aaron and sons. And when they dress this, they have to be careful, because if they miss doing it, they will die. And so, chapter 28 is about the priesthood. We talked about the Mishkan, the tabernacle tent of meeting. We talked about the court of the tabernacle last week. Now we talk about the people who serve in the tabernacle, what they are to wear. So again, the question, why is God so particular? Because he is God. A king would want it that way. Why not God? God is the king of Israel. And so God expects them to treat that role very seriously and soberly. And in fact, it is God who told Moses, it's God who gave the wind of wisdom to all these artisans, weavers, to make all these special clothing so that they are outstanding, they are holy, they are unique. It merely tells us that God is holy. God is special. His house is special. People working in the place is special. It is specially made. It is uniquely made. There is no two other temples like that. Everyone building temples in the world doesn't even come close to what God wants in the temple. It is God's temple after all. And he has given Moses the three-dimensional view of how he expects it done, and he is getting it done with the help of certain artisans, the people who are endued with the wind of wisdom, because that's insight, that's knowledge as to how things should be done. Beyond their expertise of doing things, they have this divine inspiration that can do more than just an expert. It is, after all, for God. And so all these details are given so that whoever serves God will feel different, look different, be different. And if they forget they will die different as well. And so, with this, we come to the end of our session today.